Witches. So today I am doing a Q&A part 2 for like Ask a Witch, Witchy Q&A type video type thing. So I know I did one early in the year and I will do one final one at the end of the year just to make sure everyone's burning questions are answered. So I'm just gonna hop right in. I do have a lot of questions to get through and I am so thankful to everybody who submitted questions, who were brave enough to like ask questions. I know it seems like brave enough to ask questions, but it does take a lot of courage to like reach out to somebody and say like, hey, I don't know this thing. Can you talk about it more? And I think that's really awesome and I want to just thank everybody for that. So thank you. I am sitting on my floor. I thought it would be a little bit cozier and the light's a little bit strange. So I was trying to get things all set up. I don't know. I just liked this framing a little bit more. So I thought it was like closer and it's more like we're like at a slumber party, just like chatting and like whatever. Anyways, so the first question I got was a request just for some book recommendations, and I made a TikTok about this. I don't know if everyone follows me there, but the reason it is really hard for me to give just like general book recommendations is because I don't know your path. So if you want to talk a little bit more with me about what your specific path is, I am happy to recommend books based on like what you are learning about, or if you're like Wiccan based versus non-Wiccan based. I have like a couple I have like 2 specific books that I do really recommend like for all witches, but again, you don't really have to. Number 1 is the Witch's Date book, which is the thing, these both I talked about in my other video on TikTok, the Witch's Date book. So this is the one for 2022. It is a really cool little like planner, and like there's a calendar in it, and then it also has like a daily planner with like really neat little illustrations. So I do think this is really cool to like be able to keep track of things, and as you write in it, it's kind of like a Book of Shadows grimoire type thing. I also do actually really like that it is spiral bound. I know some people don't, but I tend to like when I'm writing, I don't like to smudge stuff. So, and I don't like the way the spiral feels like when I'm writing on stuff. So I really recommend it. I think it's really cool. The second book that I do super recommend to like everybody is Scott Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs. This is like a non-denominational book. There's no teaching in it. It's just like a guidebook or a source book. There's like illustrations and stuff that are really neat, and like I like historical illustrations of plants and like botanical drawings and stuff like that. So good stuff. So yeah, those are the two main books that I recommend for witches. If you're just like, I want to buy a witchcraft book, or like a book pertaining to witchcraft, those 2 I can't like say anything bad about. And if you, again, like I said, if you are interested in a specific path or a specific topic, I am happy to give you recommendations based on that. So feel free to DM me. Okay, question number 2 is, how did I get interested in witchy things? And this is actually like a really funny answer. I had this like moment when I was like maybe 12 years old where I watched, this is so stupid, I watched Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Curse or whatever, I think, yeah. Anyways, it's the one with the Hex Girls, and I was like obsessed with Thorn. Like I wanted to be her so bad. So finally there was like something that flipped in my brain and I was like, what if I just did that? So I started getting into goth because of that. I was like introduced to it, and then I like fell in love with it and was like really obsessed with it. Still am. I dress kind of like a normie now just because I'm tired. And then when I on the other converse of that, they are Wiccans. So I was like what? Like they're like mixing potions and stuff, like they're witches, like oh my gosh. So that's how I like learned about it. And then I started just like reading everything I could. I Googled it a bunch like when I was like 12, like it was very clandestine, like under the covers, like on my phone or whatever, or like on the computer when my mom wasn't in the room is more apt, I guess. And I just have always loved that. Even before all of that, I was always kind of obsessed with like the bad characters. I just thought they had nicer outfits. I don't know. So I I kind of saw her and I really liked what, you know, I saw her, she was a Wiccan, I really wanted to be just like her, and then I started researching it, and then it kind of just snowballed from there. My parents are also like really into like medieval stuff, or were like when we were growing up. So I was like really into Lord of the Rings at a young age. I loved Galadriel. Like that was a really cool thing. I have a bunch of Lord of the Rings tattoos, like all of these are Lord of the Rings. And I was just like really obsessed with like historical fiction. I read a book called The Sea of Trolls, which actually had like Norse mythology in it. So it's all kind of like culminated in like me, and I am still shocked. I'm like, guys, what are you talking about? I was like really convinced that fairies were real up until the time I was like 11. Like, come on. So yeah, it's always just kind of been there, and I finally just embraced it one day, and it was awesome. So the next question is, what are some things that make me feel more connected to the Morrigan? Now, if you guys don't know, I do have a couple videos about her. She is my matron. She's been with me from the beginning of my craft, and she was really just like this wonderful inspiration to me, and has helped me through a lot, like some of the hardest points of my life. Now that I'm in kind of a better space, I don't work with her as frequently. I've been kind of turning to working with Hecate primarily. However, she is my matron, so she will always be with me. It's in some form. However, recently she's been coming back because I've been having some issues, but she has helped me through a lot of situations in which I am being like emotionally abused, or not that I'm being emotionally abused right now, that's a whole thing, but she helps me with like setting boundaries, which is something that I'm really struggling with right now in other aspects of my life. So she's kind of there to guide me on that. She was there before, so whenever I was just feeling like stressed out or like uncomfortable or whatever, she would come to me and just give me feelings of strength and encouragement to stand up for myself and like call people out on their bullshit, basically, which I did. Now that I'm like an adult and I'm in like a safer place, like she helped me get out of an abusive household, basically. Now that I'm in a safer space, she's kind of like backed off and let me blossom, basically, and it's really been wonderful. But things that make me feel more connected to her, wearing black, of course. I have a tattoo dedicated to her, like right here on my chest, so I always have her with me. Anytime I hear like Irish music or like see anything Irish-y, I just really appreciate that, and it makes me feel closer to her. A specific band that I like or really associate with her and Hearn is Clannad, which is actually Enya before Enya went solo, so it's like a whole like deep thing. And I think that just like speaking my truth and, you know, being in a space where I can feel like I can be honest and like vulnerable with people, like is because of the Morrigan, but also like after that, when I'm like reflecting on those conversations, I like feel closer to her, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Everybody's journey is really different. So if that doesn't resonate with you just because we've had different life experiences, that is a-okay. That's how I feel close to her. And again, she is less prevalent for me these days. Like she's still very much my matron, and again, will be part of my life forever. But I'm kind of transitioning out of the place where I was just like in a constant state of like fear, and I was like fighting a war basically like every day, which is like how I was diagnosed with PTSD. Like it's just like a whole thing. So yeah, like whenever I'm in that state, whenever I'm in like a panic state, she's always there for me. So it's just really nice. Yeah. Next question after that long rant about the Morrigan, because I love talking about her, do you have any thoughts on hand fastings? So one of my goals for 2022, or possibly by the end of 2021, I actually want to get ordained so I can do that. Like I got like ordained on the internet like when I was 13 years old, but I'm pretty sure that doesn't count. So like I actually do want to get ordained and be able to perform pagan ceremonies and like have that be like a thing, because I think it's really cool. I eventually want to get hand fasted. I have been talking about that recently with my partner, and you know, I think that in lieu of like I'm not gonna have a Christian wedding. Like that's not really me. Like I never saw myself getting married in a church anyways, so I definitely want to be hand fasted. I like the flexibility that hand fasting has within the magical space. So if you guys don't know, hand fasting is like a pagan wedding, but instead of like for eternity, like promising yourselves for eternity, some people do it for a year and a day and then renew their vows like every year or every 5 years, 10 years, whatever. And I think that's really cool. Now for my partner and I, it is going to be like a forever bond because I just like know. But yeah, I'm really excited for that, and I do really want to get ordained. So if you are a pagan who is getting married, I might be ordained soon. Let me do your wedding. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, the next question is kind of a sentence phrase, so I'm just going to read what they wrote. So they said, I constantly change the construction of my altar and I'm wondering if I'm the only one. And no, I change my altar all the time, depending on the holiday, depending on the spell. I am currently setting up my witch room right now. So I have like a bunch of new furniture that is going to be coming into this space, which is really neat. And I plan on having altars like all over the place, shelving, all sorts of stuff like that I can move around, display different things. I do have like certain altars that stay the same, specifically for like my muses and stuff, and then my tarot altar is probably going to stay the same, but my working altar for sure, it changes all the time depending on the season, depending on the working. I think that if you like look back, you can definitely see a change in all of my videos. That like just like resonates throughout the entire, like you can definitely see like my altar changes throughout the entire year. So no, you are not alone. A lot of pagans have a working altar and then an altar that they do keep the same, so it's just an excuse to start another one, honestly. But no, if you change your altar around, that is absolutely super normal and like really cool. So, you know, share pictures. The question is, how do I identify what kind of witch I am? And this is a very personal question to each person. Like, it's hard for me to be like, oh, well, you're a green witch, you're an astral witch, you're a cosmic, whatever. Because I think it really just comes down to, what are you the most interested in? People, I feel like, get really caught up in labeling stuff in witchcraft. So I feel like people get like really obsessed with labeling themselves and labeling their craft and like fitting their craft into a specific label, which I really discourage, especially for people who are beginning. It took me a very long time to get to like my current like definition of my craft. I consider myself a hearth and hedge witch, because a lot of my magic takes place in and about the home, and I'm a hedge witch because I just feel like that best encompasses me. I was a solitary witch for a really long time. I have learned all of this pretty much solitarily. I do work with plants, I do work in the kitchen, I do work with the hearth, and I also do astral and dream work, so and deity work. So I guess I'm like a hearth and hedge witch and also an eclectic pagan. It's like a lot, and I just feel like, you know, people are kind of just want like a button or like a label to slap on themselves, which is cool, and I totally respect that. But I think people can sometimes get like focused on just like identifying themselves and not like allowing themselves to branch out into different realms. So firstly, I would say you'll identify yourself by like the way your practice takes shape. And I know that sounds crazy, and like probably is not the answer that you guys would want, but it's the truth. You can't just go into it. In my mind, I discourage people from going into it being like, okay, I've read everything about witchcraft, you know, which no one has ever read anything about witchcraft, but you know what I mean. And I feel like I am going to be a green witch. And it's like, okay, well, you can explore the path of the green witch, but if it doesn't vibe with you, don't force it. Like, it doesn't matter. I got it into my head, especially really early on, because I was like 13, where I was like, I am a Wiccan. And that's the only way I'm going to be. I'm going to be a Wiccan. Doesn't matter. I'm going to be a Wiccan. And, that burned out, and I'm not a Wiccan anymore. Like, I just don't really vibe with like organized religion, and that's fine. I didn't realize that you could be anything other than a Wiccan until like more recently, like, you know, 6 years ago. But yeah, you know, it changes based on your practice, and that is okay. So I would say if you are more comfortable with labeling yourself, that's fine. Just kind of claim a label. Like, it's okay. You don't need someone to like validate you. Like, there's not a test. It's your spirituality. It's cool. And also be open for that label to change. So yeah. The next question is, would I be interested in making an ancestor-based video, or one revolving around the clairs, clairaudience, clairvoyance, etc., and their relevance in magic? So the answer is yes. I will not be doing it this month, but I have those planned actually already for October. So in October, we are going to be talking a lot about ancestor work, working with the dead, honoring the dead, gods who are associated with death, as well as like kind of that realm of like ghosts, what are they, and stuff like that. So hopefully, I want to keep it spooky in October, because October is like my favorite like month of the year. So yeah, that's some stuff to look forward to. I will definitely be making videos, just not in September, I'm sorry. Okay, the next question is, how did I find deity to worship, and how did I discover Bast and Hecate? Great questions. I do have videos about these. If you haven't checked them out already, totally cool. I will give you like the summary here, but I do recommend that you go like watch them because I go way more in depth. So deity worship, I have been worshiping deities since like the beginning of my craft. I started because I was a Wiccan. It was like, oh, well, God and goddess worship. Okay, so then the Morrigan and Hearn both came to me around the same time and were my matron and my patron. So that's kind of how I discovered it. I just thought that's what you were supposed to do, and it turned out it was like really great for me. So yeah, now with Bast, she came to me at the beginning of the year, and that was, you know, during a time of a lot of emotional upheaval, and she works with me a little bit less frequently. Again, Hecate is a very like powerful goddess in my craft right now, and she's really coming through strong. So my other gods have kind of not disappeared, because I know there's that discourse going on TikTok right now, but it's just that they've stepped back a little bit and allowed me the space to work with her, which I am so appreciative of and thankful of. However, in the next couple of days, weeks, months probably, I'm going to be setting up altars for the other 4 deities like up here, so that way I can have like a full deity altar. It's going to be really, really cool. I'm really excited, and they know it's coming, and then they're getting excited. It's really sweet. So anyways, I work with her, and I found her through just like a lot of soul searching. I had a lot of dreams. It was during a time of a lot of emotional upheaval, actually. Like I was saying, like at the beginning of the year, I was in like a really rough spot, like really, really rough. So I think you guys could probably see that in my videos. Like looking back, I'm like, oh, but I'm doing better now. She's helped me a lot. So she's helped me kind of get through that. And it's kind of like, she's very comforting and motherly, which is not a like form of goddess I'm super like familiar with. Working with the Morrigan and then working with Hecate is like very tough love, like direct, whereas Bast is a little bit like, you know, coddling. Though I don't know that I want to say coddling. I think she's just comforting. I think that's what it is, and I'm just being hard on myself. Speaking of which, my cat is attempting to come into the room. He knows we're talking about her. That's really funny. So she does comfort me, and that's what she is here to help me on my path for. Now Hecate has come to me more recently, and of course it is pretty remarkable to have almost 10 years of just focusing and getting myself into a safe space in order to like branch out. So that now that this year is happening, you know, more deities are showing themselves to me, but working with Hecate has been incredibly, incredibly powerful, and I have no words. Like there's just so much that I want to talk about, but I also kind of want to explore more without talking about it. So, but the way I discovered her was again, just through like these synchronicities. Like I just started seeing signs, and I just kept seeing her like everywhere. Like people would just bring her up to me, and I'm just like out of the blue. So it was very much like coming through. I saw signs. I have a snake that is one of her sacred animals. I kept seeing things. I did a bunch of research on her, and I felt her call. I had a dream, and then we started working together. So that's kind of how all of my deities have come to me, is through dreams first, like through signs, and then confirmation through dreams, and then like confirmation through tarot. And just I always have an intuitive sense of who it is. Like I have never, like I don't want to sound really cocky, I have all of my ideas, I guess, of if I'm like, I bet this is this goddess or this god, it's always been correct. So yeah, I feel like that's the biggest advice I can give to people who are looking to start deity work, is just to trust your intuition, because mine has yet to fail me. So there's that. Yeah, and then the final question is actually like a witch adjacent video, or a witch adjacent topic. And this person wanted to know, do I plan on making more fashion content in the future? I remember finding this channel years ago with my videos about Strega fashion, which are still up, and I really enjoyed them. So firstly, thank you so much for watching those, because that was a nightmare. That was like my college years, oh my gosh. And I currently actually like work in the industry. So for me, this channel is kind of a place where I can escape some of that for now. That is to say, I can definitely do more fashion content if that is what people are interested in. I'm always like worried to like mix the two. Like I don't really know. Because I am legitimately interested in both things. So if you guys don't know, I went to fashion school. I have my bachelor's degree in fashion design, and I work in the industry. So like I have a very deep love for fashion. almost as much as I love witchcraft. Like I would say those two are pretty much equal, and like they're the only two parts I have to my personality. So yeah, so I can definitely make more. Let me know if you are interested in that. Like I want to make sure people are interested in it before I'm just like, hello, let me talk to you about, you know, XYZ, Alexander McQueen, and me, like, and my religious experience with like being at the Met. Yeah, I can definitely make it. I just haven't. And also this place is kind of like my one place to like get away from some of that, because I like talk about it all day, and I know that's really silly sounding, but it can get a little bit tiring. So yeah, I hope that answers some of your questions. I thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.